Alright everyone, we are on episode 7 of BlazBlue Alter Memory. If you guys are watching my videos, please like and subscribe to my channel because making these videos ain't easy and I like making them, but still, I need to get some out of this. But yeah, episode 7 of BlazBlue Alter Memory, let's do it. So the episode begins with Tsubaki encountering Noel, Ragna continuing on his travels, and Makoto walking through an empty Noel branch. A spirit comes down to Makoto with Noel's voice on the other side, telling her that she and Tsubaki can talk it out. Noel notices that Tsubaki is now a part of the Zero Squadron, with Tsubaki saying that she's on business. Already knowing what Tsubaki was going to say, Noel simply says that Tsubaki was sent an Imperial order to eliminate both Jin and Noel herself. Tsubaki attempts to get Noel to come back willingly so that the Imperator may soften the punishment, but Noel refuses, wondering why killing Jin would even matter to the Imperator. Noel goes on, telling Tsubaki that something big is about to happen in Kagetsuchi, with the recent earthquake and Ragna the Bloodedge being tied to her own mysterious past. Tsubaki asks why Jin and Noel are even connected to Ragna, with Noel defending Ragna as she believes that he isn't a bad person at heart, and there must be a reason for the things he's doing, and that the NOL are in the wrong. Tsubaki yells back at Noel, telling her that defending Ragna, a terrorist, is no better than defying the Imperator, and says that if Noel won't come back willingly, she'll strip her of her rank, charge her with insubordination, and sentence her with expulsion from the NOL. While Makoto rushes to save her friends, Relis gazes upon the two women. Tsubaki then activates the Easy Way after not being able to take in Noel, and tells her if she is going to resist, then her life is forfeit. Tsubaki claims that the Seal Armagus Izuyori has been in her family for generations. Up high, Rachel and Ragna reach where Relis is, with Ragna catching sight of the robotic woman near Relis, asking him if she is a Nox Nectoris. Rachel says that Relis would be wise to just watch, but Relis is content just watching his creation Noel, or in this case number 12, and says that he needs to retrieve her for research. While Rachel says that is interference, Relis calls her a hypocrite and informs her that she meddled quite a bit using the Tsukuyomi unit against the Take Mikazuchi, also bringing up the Susuyomi unit in the process. Tsubaki and Noel begin fighting, with Tsubaki being shocked that Noel has a Nox Nectoris, and tells Noel that of course she gets the things that she doesn't deserve. Noel tells Tsubaki that Bulwark won't allow her to pull the trigger on her precious friend. Relis mentions to Ragna that Noel is a thing, the 12th boundary interface prime field device, and she is also a creation of Relis, leaving a shocked Ragna to ask whether if Noel is even human at all. Hazama's words ring into Tsubaki's head once again, telling her that Noel has usurped Tsubaki over her true position in the world, taking everything around her that she doesn't deserve. Hazama goes on to say that Noel is someone who had terrible grades and no personality, and yet she is the one who stands by Jin's side, while Tsubaki gets to do nothing but overglorified trash duty, even telling Tsubaki that Noel shouldn't exist or even be here in the first place. Hazama further says that if Noel isn't stopped right now, she'll continue taking and taking until Tsubaki has nothing left, unlocking Tsubaki's hatred of Noel and leaving Hazama to revel in it, only using her as a tool to awaken number 12. Noel then slips into her quote-unquote robo mode and overwhelms Tsubaki, snapping back to normal shortly after. Tsubaki charges at Noel, preparing to finish her off until Ragna jumps down to block her attack. Tsubaki blames Ragna for existing, saying that if he didn't exist, Jin would still be here, but Ragna ignores her, telling Noel if they don't shut up and just fight, then he'll tag in. Relis approaches Noel, grabbing her by the neck, and expresses his disappointment on how she is still a defect despite becoming successor to the Azure, leaving afterwards. Tsubaki's eyesight began to fade, so she then retreated. Noel rushes after Tsubaki after Rachel encourages her. Ragna tells Rachel that he isn't as stupid as she thinks he is, and tells her that Rachel brought him here to see everything that happened. Rachel tells Ragna that the smelting isn't complete yet on Noel, in answer to him saying that Noel had different eyes than his sisters. Rachel tells Ragna that now he knows the truth, he must do something, and with that, she leaves. Hazama is at first angered that none of the girls are dead yet, but shrugs it off, saying that now he'll have to do things himself. Noel catches up to Tsubaki, noticing the red-haired woman's blank eyes. Tsubaki informs Noel that using the Izuyori steals all light from the user's surroundings, and that she needed the Izuyori to keep up with Noel and Jin. Tsubaki tells Noel that she is much more amazing than she gives herself credit for, while Noel says that Tsubaki is kind, dependable, and a friend that Makoto and Noel herself loves very dearly. Tsubaki confesses that she wishes that Noel would just vanish from her life, but Noel still says that she loves Tsubaki, even after she just recently tried to kill her, and that Tsubaki didn't want to kill her, only following the orders given to her. Tsubaki decides to forget what happened here, but next time she will finish her orders, leaving Noel alone in the rain. Makoto finally catches up to Noel, with Noel running into Makoto's arms, crying, which caps off the episode. Alright, so my overall thoughts of the episode. Honestly, despite me not being the biggest Tsubaki fan, well, I mean, I don't hate this episode, despite this being just a long this episode is just a long conversation between Noel and Tsubaki. It's like back and forth, just like last episode. Tsubaki brings up, they try to bring it in. Tsubaki tries to bring up, okay, guys, come in. Can you please come in? This character says no. Then she activates the easy order. They fight for a little bit. They fight a little bit more. They talk a little bit more. The episode is longer than it has to be, but I did like some of the moments into it. One, it has Relis, just showing up, which I like, because Relis just directly goes up there and just picks up Noel by the neck. It's like, you suck, you're a disappointment. He just throws her down. He leaves. He watches. He goes out himself and just says Tsubaki's a disappointment, and Noel's a disappointment, and just dips. I like that. I like that Relis doesn't get any kind of screen time in this show, because it fits with his character, even if it's dumb in this anime version. But hey, it's funny. It keeps with Relis. He never shows up when he doesn't want to. The revelation that finally Ragna realizes that Noel was Prime Field number 12. I will admit that had some decent build up, and it did show Ragna's more emotional side to all this stuff like that. Like, he's like, oh, Noel's even human. One thing I said this in the last episode, I do like about Ultimate Memory is they have Ragna and Noel bonding more. They really didn't get a chance to do much of that in the actual games. Like, thinking about through Calamity Trigger, Continuum Shift in the games itself, it does really not much happens. Between these two characters. I mean, otherwise, Ragna just meets her at one point, saves her at one point. They don't do much in regards to getting closer to the characters, but Ultimate Memory is kind of based mostly around Noel. Like when you think about it, going through Noel, and granted, she's a plot important character in Calamity Trigger and Continuum Shift, but most of Ultimate Memory is mostly based on Noel, which I like. It shows her growing as a character, moving about and doing her own thing, which I don't have a problem with. It keeps Noel's character consistent and lets her actually, have some breathing room and do something on her own rather than just a story ripping her from place to place. And I kind of like that. I mean, granted, obviously that's the whole point of getting Noel into these situations, for the story to put her there. But it feels more natural with Noel with doing this kind of thing. I like that. I did like her relationship with Ragna played up a bit more in this anime, which I will get Ultimate Memory credit for so far. It hasn't disappointed me in that fact. There are some moments that I think Ragna was a little bit too, not angsty, but more I can't say out of character, but it's more a little more, why would Ragna do this for thing? One thing I don't like about Ultimate Memory is Ragna's, Ragna's not an idiot, but he jumps to conclusions on the worst things, which I don't like. Especially with regards to, at two different points in the anime, Nox Victorious, which is weird to me, but that's neither here nor there in this episode. But moving on from that, one thing is a sore point in this episode is Tsubaki. And look, I'm not the biggest Tsubaki fan, but I gotta look at this from a more objective kind of, not objective, I bet, a more, how do I feel how Tsubaki was portrayed this episode kind of deal. I gotta see how Tsubaki was more portrayed in this kind of thing. And without all the emotional backing that has Tsubaki counting all this, it really makes her seem really petty. Because, at least in the games, well, I said before, I'm not the biggest Tsubaki fan, but at least in the games, you have an understanding reason to why Tsubaki would do all this. And because the anime is rushing through all this stuff, it makes Tsubaki seem really petty about shit, about just the dumbest shit, For example, here's Jin, right? Now, Jin, and obviously in the games, Tsubaki and Jin were childhood friends. They knew each other for the longest time. Jin was pretty much the only person Tsubaki could really bond to and connect because she lost all her siblings at a young age. Tsubaki really didn't get to do anything, She really didn't get to enjoy her childhood because she lost all her siblings. She had to constantly deal with these NOL bullshit. And Jin was the only person that really, got through to her, to connect with one another. because the anime skips over that with giving Noel one scene with Jin in the past, and that's not even more of like just Noel's my bad, just when they met in the library along with Noel and Makoto, it makes Tsubaki seem even more like a crazy person, you know, like there's this moment in this episode where Tsubaki sees Ragna. He's like, "Oh, it's your fault. If you weren't here, Jin wouldn't have ran off or whatever." And then like, you know, I'm sitting here like, okay, one hand, it's like, you know, dumb because like, you know, obviously Jin ran off on his own. He ran off his own the moment he heard Ragna. Okay, now she's blaming Ragna for this. Well, instead of like, you know, thinking, why would Jin leave? You know, she never really came across her mind. Like, why would Jin leave? She's only been looking for information. She never really tried to understand Jin's point of view. Now, she did in the last episode. She tried to ask why Jin would even do this, but she really didn't go and elaborate further than that and just said, well, I guess I gotta take you in because it's Imperial Order, man. Like, Tsubaki, there's not much of a struggle between Tsubaki in this anime than what she was in the games. She just kind of flies off the handle a little bit too quickly for my taste. And it makes her seem really, really crazy. Now, it's trying to build up that Noel and Tsubaki obviously doesn't want to do this, but outside forces are making her do this. Imperial Order and Hazama. They're trying to play to the fact that, you know, these things are making Tsubaki do this thing. And obviously, you know, using the easy way is another problem. And it's trying to, you know, put Tsubaki in more of a tragic light, but it makes her seem crazy, you know? It makes her seem crazy, especially with the Jin-centric stuff. Now, with Noel, it also seems kind of crazy because, you know, Noel, you know, obviously Tsubaki's going around. It's like, okay, Noel, why are you hanging out with Ragna Bloodedge? You're a criminal. Where's Jin? You know, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, Tsubaki's on this order. It's like, man, I don't, like, she originally said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But the moment she sees her friends, it just switch immediately flicks. Like, oh, well, I guess I gotta do this shit. Obviously, you know, it's supposed to be like Tsubaki in the game. She was supposed to be, you know, she's part of the Yayoi family duodecim. They're pretty strict about this shit. You know, the Imperial Order, Imperator's orders are absolute. Don't get me wrong, I understand that point in the game. Don't get me wrong, but it just seems like Tsubaki is just utterly crazy. They don't emphasize the point about the Imperator because you don't see the Imperator in this game, aka, I'm not going to say it, but you guys already know who it is. You don't really see the quote-unquote Imperator to the end. So you're kind of just having Tsubaki talk about this person who we don't even really know of yet, who is giving out all the orders and stuff like that. I mean, Imperial, or like Hazama could be the leader of the NOL, and it would make more sense because at least she's getting orders directly from him rather than just this invisible being that we won't know of. And obviously, the Imperator won't show up until the end of the Continuum Shift parts, which is literally the last episode. So you won't know shit. Well, granted, the Imperator does show up in like episode 11, but it's not really given that much emphasis upon it. It just made Tsubaki over-glorify the Imperator despite we don't know shit about the Imperator. We know less about the NOL than half of the characters in this version already. We already know this NOL is just like this superpower. That's all we know. We don't know who's leading it other than the Imperator, but we don't know who the Imperator is or whatever, blah, 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 blah. They're not really emphasizing the strictness of NOL. They're just making it seem like some kind of big military enforcement murdery kind of group, and it's, you know, well, was that, but like, damn, there was more to it than that. But otherwise, I'm out of here. I'm peace out. This review has been long enough. Alright, so my overall thoughts of the episode.